we already know we've got a quorum, so.
Yeah, so if you want to call the meeting to order and we'll do a roll call of who's here.
Are you ready or not? Or you want to wait just a minute?
We are ready here.
Okay. Let's call the special call meeting of the Tennessee State Board of Accountancy to order. It's been properly noticed. At this point, I would ask that we have a roll call vote, please.
John Royston.
Present.
Casey Stewart. Stephen Eldridge.
Here.
Janet Booker Davis.
Here.
Larry Elmore.
Here.
Kevin Monroe.
Present.
Gay Moon.
Here.
Pamela Church.
Here.
Trey Watkins. Judy Weatherby.
Here.
Okay, before we
We have
move
a
any,
quorum then.
we do have a quorum, correct. Before we move any further, if you are on a cell phone, maybe traveling and you're not speaking, if you could mute yourself. We've been told that the playback doesn't work well if there's a variety of folks on a cell phone traveling. I believe Liz is with us, our attorney, and she is going to read into the record the statement of necessity for this meeting.
Good morning, board members. The Tennessee State Board of Accountancy has called a special meeting of the board to recommend the hiring of Sharon Waugh for the vacant investigator position. The need for hiring an investigator for the vacant position is for the protection of the citizens of Tennessee. The board does not currently have qualified personnel to make such investigations regarding the standard of care for a test work. Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 844-108, a necessary matter is considered by this governing body at this meeting requiring timely action. The physical presence by a quorum of the members is not practical within the period of time requiring the action, and participation by a quorum of the members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary. Decision of the board will be confirmed by a roll call vote.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to briefly cover the process we went through and the recommendation we're making?
Absolutely, because I'm sure I'll drop something. You all done a yeoman's job there, and you and Kevin in Nashville. And, you can cover all the other bases that we've covered beyond that point. So please do.
Just to give everybody a little bit of information on what's occurred over the past couple of months, we posted the job notice, job description soon after the January board meeting. We received 23 resumes. We had almost half of those that had no audit experience or investigative experience. We did select 5 individuals for an interview. One individual canceled that interview and indicated that they were no longer interested. Kevin Monroe, myself, our HR manager, Don Coleman, and our director of investigations, Rich Hatfield, conducted the 4 remaining interviews. Today, we are recommending Ms. Sherry, she goes by Sherry, her official name is Sharon Waugh, to the position of investigator. I'll go over just a few of the things that we found during our interviews that led us to this decision. Sherry has over 10 years of public accounting experience and some significant experience in in industry as well. She is very polished in her communication skills, both verbally and written. She has been an instructor in a couple of different settings throughout her career, which would make her good in our teaching capacity with the ethics course. She has spent a lot of time researching issues throughout her career and very much enjoys that part of her background. She's very personable. She also has a lot of confidence and holds a very strong presence. So I feel that her ability to go out and conduct interviews and get the necessary information will be great for us. I get a very good feeling about her capabilities to fill this position. I believe that the only reservation would be her. You'll notice in her resume that she has positions where she's only held for 2 or 3 years. But during the interview, we talked about that. She talked about some manufacturing companies she worked for an extended period of time that several of them went out of business, so she had to move on to another position. After we conducted the interview, Chairman Royston also did a phone interview with her for about 45 minutes and discussed some of the same things we discussed in our in-person interview. So Kevin was part of the interview process. Chairman Royston has spoken to her as well. And I also believe that Judy Weatherby has had some contact with VACO, which was on her resume as well, and has some positive things to say. So with that, my recommendation is to hire Sherry Wall to the investigator position at a salary of $80,000 plus state benefits and a state car for business purposes. So with that, I will open it up for maybe comments from those that conducted the interviews, and then some questions from any of the board members.
Kevin, would you like to speak to this, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. And it was a good experience to sit down with Wendy and the other members of the team to conduct the interviews. And I think what Wendy described with respect to Sherry's background and experience level and her disposition for this position was right on the mark. And I think she would be an appropriate candidate for this position to recommend. Happy to kind of discuss further, but we tried to vet her resume as best we could, and we certainly had a very good series of interviews with Sherry as well as the other candidates, and feel comfortable with this recommendation.
Thank you, Kevin. Judy, did you have anything you'd like to comment on?
Sure. When Wendy sent the resume and the board meeting notice over to us, I immediately saw on Sherry's LinkedIn page that she had done consulting work for VACO, and also noticed that on her resume. And I did notice before I kind of reviewed it and did my own due diligence through the resume, kind of recapped everything in a chronological order. And I noticed what Wendy brought up earlier is there was a lot of job hopping. And, sometimes that's not the candidate's fault. And so I wanted to give her the, benefit of the doubt. But that was my biggest concern when I reviewed everything that I had at my disposal. And so I have a lot of good relationships over at VACO, and I can speak very candidly with them and they with me. So, and I know that they thoroughly vet anybody who does any work that represents their company. And I can say that in my career, I've never known of an employment agency or temp agency or whatever that does as good a job as they do. When I saw that she had worked for VACO, that was a positive thing for me immediately. And then I made a call to one of my contacts over there that I'm closest with, and she had nothing but positive things to say. In fact, she said on a personal level, she really likes Sherry, and that, everything that's her resume and everything. I mean, she is what you see is what you get. She is has a very good personality per my contact, and would fit in most any situation. And she is passionate about what she does. And you know, from looking at her resume and seeing all the experience she has, I think she would be an excellent candidate just from the things I've seen for this position. In fact, I got very excited about her, especially after talking to my contact at VACO. So that's all the input. I spent a lot of time doing the chronological thing, actually. But I think she's a person that, she pretty much figures out what she wants to do and she goes for it. And if it's not a fit, she knows she can get, I think she's confident enough probably to move on and find something she is going to have fun doing. I think this might be a very good fit for her.
Thank you, Judy. I would echo the LinkedIn page, the research, anything I could find about her. She did work in Kingsport and actually has a daughter now at East Tennessee State University. She is my same concerns, and I've related several times to Wendy, was the fact that she had the job hopping. I checked with some of those even after I've talked to Wendy later, and in the one case when she left Kingsport, she followed her husband to Nashville because he had a music career interest, and she jumped in after the fact when she got there and got education in the music industry where she can do some consulting work with them. Companies did close up or eliminate positions, and even with all that, I'm with Judy in the fact that, and particularly after spending the time I did on the phone with her, she was very conscious, and as was I, in not trying to do anything during the day that is interviewing we interviewed at night, and I think she's got an excitement for the job. She wants to be challenged, and she's educated enough, and with national firm experience starting out, she's obviously got good grades. She can communicate very well for our teaching position. I would recommend giving her a shot and encouraging her. I think she's going to get in there and dig and do a good job for us and make a good presentation.
One thing, this is Judy. One other thing I'd like to add is one question I ask, because this is something I think that's important, is she tenacious? Because that's one of the things it takes. You can't take everything just right at its value. You have to do due diligence and you have to dig sometimes, especially in this role. And I really wanted to see someone come into this role that was tenacious about what they were doing. And my contact was very positive about that. And that was high on my list. So, since I didn't participate in the interview process, that was one question that I really wanted to find out the answer to.
Thank you, Judy.
Two other things I would like to note that I failed to mention. I did talk to Farouz Smalley, who's one of the partners with now Fortner Smalley in Kingsport, Tennessee, where she was an audit manager for 3 years, and received a very positive reference for her from there. Mainly her strengths, her knowledge of standards was very good. She actually did a lot of the in-house training for them due to her knowledge in various areas. And the last thing is that you will notice on her resume, early in her career, she worked for Hazlitt, Lewis & Beater, which is Casey Stewart's old firm. I did talk to Casey. He did not recall her. and did check with the HR department of the now merged firm, and there are no longer any records, but we did check into that.
Are there
This is Pam. I have a question. Is this a good time to ask?
Sure.
Okay. I noticed, if I'm reading it right, is she a senior now? Senior associate? Does that not mean senior, as in staff and then senior, or am I wrong?
You're talking about on her title at her current.
Her level, yeah. Yes, her current
That
title.
would be those, and in our firm particularly, even those are assigned by experience level in a firm. And I spoke to her about why she wanted to leave there and all.
Mm-hmm.
And they are that particular firm is a very fine firm. They just do not have as much of her type of work, and she doesn't feel like she's a good fit with them. They don't do a lot of audit work, which she prefers, and her strong suit. While she's done a bunch of it over there, her strong suit and interest level is in the tax area. So, but the senior position you're speaking of is just a title based on experience level in their own internal structure.
Okay, because my question was whether she had assumed a lower level position than she probably was qualified to take. But then I do realize that each firm has different definitions, and she'd been away from that particular type of work, I think, for a while. So I was just wondering if you had inquired about it. It sounds like you got enough information.
Also, this is Judy again. My contact at VACO was aware that she was interested in moving away from that firm because she is basically doing tax work, and that's just not where her passion is. So
I can understand that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you.
After this tax season.
And this is Kevin. One thing that actually gave us a little comfort in the interviews which were conducted, I think maybe going back into February and certainly early March, was that she expressed the notion that she did not want to, abandon her current employer in the middle of tax busy season. So when we discussed potential, start times, she made it clear that she felt a duty to, continue on and at least get through the primary tax season with her employer, which I respected very much.
Absolutely. That's good.
This is Gay. Can I ask a question now?
Certainly.
The last few formal hearings we've had have been tax-related, and I don't know how many investigations are tax versus GAAP or audit services. Do y'all? I'm happy. She looks great, but do you feel like she will be able to handle the volume of tax investigations that may come her way?
My personal feeling from talking with her is that, and I know the firm she came out of in Kingsport is a small firm, so she did tax work there as well. It's just not her passion.
Okay.
And we're really not doing, even in our investigations, we're not into the technical tax areas like we are in audit.
Okay.
As well, and that's my personal opinion anyway. So I don't think she would have a problem at all in handling that, but that's a wonderful question.
This is Janet. I have a question. When you all were interviewing her, did you ask her her reasons for, I guess, leaving at Cooper's and GM? I know somebody talked about Kingsport, why she left, and why she wants to leave now. And I guess another thing that I wonder about is this position isn't exactly audit work, and if that's really where her passion is doing audits. I just wonder about that.
What I recall from the interview was she went through before, I think it was before Fortner Smalley, but at some point she went through a divorce. And she indicated that this is mainly, I think, when she went into some teaching, she thought that would be a little bit lighter load of work. She had sole custody of her daughter and needed to be available for her. So I believe that was part of some of that interim period. I don't recall or have specific notes on why she left General Motors. I do know she traveled and actually was down in Latin America for a good period of time. She talked about kind of cleaning up some fraud that was going on while she was there. And that may have been that was over, and but I don't recall.
And Wendy, this is Kevin. I would just add, one of the discussion points that we had about, this is a rather unique position, and it's not really doing audit work. I think, as you said, or tax work for that matter. It's really performing investigations and putting together the necessary, case notes and whatnot. And interestingly, when we asked her about what interested her in this position and the investigative aspect of that, one of the things that she indicated in the interview was that I think she had in her family, I believe it was her father, had law enforcement experience. And so I believe he was a police officer. And so she had kind of grown up, getting some exposure to, that line of work and the need to do investigations. And so she did have a fair level of background. And when the director of investigations was asking her questions of, that would get at, did she kind of know what the threshold of evidentiary matter would be necessary and so forth, she responded very appropriately to those lines of questions.
I think one of the interview questions should have been, do you watch Law and Order? Do you watch the ID channel? Do you?
She had it live in her house with her dad, I think.
So you all have a sense then that even though this isn't audit work per se, that she's clear on that, and this type of work is, what she's interested in doing, because I think you all were saying she really wants to do audit work.
Well, I think
and that's not exactly what this would be.
I think that was more the fact that it wasn't her forte, that she enjoys the documentation is what I got out of to answer your question.
No, okay, it's not that
she is a follower of guidelines and understands, obviously. She actually taught ethics online for one of the universities. So she understands ethics and what you have to follow. So from that standpoint, she would have a great understanding of what a failure in ethics is. And as far as an audit failure, or she knows from an audit standpoint, if she reads a financial statement trying to help DMV, that yes, this is she should be able to analyze a audit report extremely well, which is the real technical area, as opposed to doing tax work. That it's really, most of the complaints we have aren't technical in nature. They're the fact that somebody didn't file or didn't represent or return working papers or whatever it happens to be. So I'm very comfortable, and I asked her about the documentation. I spent a long time when I was talking with her explaining how the process worked and letting her ask just questions on how we open an investigation and determine where it goes. And she was, at least, and she, what you can tell from an interview and what's actually out there, obviously she presented herself well, but she's been accused, she said, of over-documentation. So I think she's, where Kevin mentioned the evidentiary information and that sort of thing, and documentation. Because I told her, frankly, we'd had some in the past that were brought to us that there were just too many points missed, and we let somebody we did not have a finding because we didn't feel like our end had done the job properly. And that wasn't a comfortable position for the board. So I would think that she would cover that well.
This is Pam. It seems to me that it's very reassuring that she enjoys audit because the same types of skills and requirements, inquiry, documentation, investigation, I mean, there seems to me to be a lot of carryover. Some of you know the job better than I do, but I think it's very fitting that she would use her audit skills and background for this job.
This is Larry. Can I take my turn now?
Sure.
I just had a few questions. Wendy answered the questions I had going into this were, why did she have so many jobs, which I think we talked about that. I had one about, did we get references, and Wendy answered that. And I was particularly interested in whether Casey knew why she just stayed a year or less there, but he's getting old, so he obviously doesn't remember. But she probably doesn't remember him either.
She actually mentioned him in the interview. She did seem to remember him, so.
Okay, well, but I think it's important to note, though, I mean, we're saying she's got 10 years of experience, but about half of it's 15 years ago, so I don't know how relevant that is with standards today, but it is, 10 years, half of it fairly recent, half of it not. But, she does have a lot of good experience. I think it's going to be tough to find anybody who has a lot of audit and a lot of tax these days because people tend to specialize in one or the other. So just having one examiner with both is going to be tough to do, but hopefully she'll pick up the ability to work with both. I guess I had a little bit of a concern that, and here again, it's going to be hard to find somebody like this, but it would be really nice if we had an examiner who had reached the level of partner somewhere, because she's going to be dealing with partners in firms when she goes in to do exams. But there again, you're not going to find a lot of people who have been a partner in a firm, unless they're retired, that's going to do something like this, because it's Hello?
Yeah, do you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you miss about half of that last comment?
No, I heard everything.
Okay. I think the last thing I said was it's going to be hard to find somebody with that level of experience that is going to want to do this unless they're retired. So I guess given all that, I don't have anything to say other than all that I just said. But I think she certainly has a lot of good experience. I think it's important that this person have the ability to be assertive and to be, not backing down with quick, easy answers and so forth. So hopefully you found that she had that, and I think you said that she does. So those are not really questions, or just comments. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Larry.
I would like to say one more thing. Quite honestly, I am shocked that Wendy and Kevin were able to find someone at her level for what we, have in the budget for that position, and the amount of experience and whatnot. I thought we would have to settle for far less to be able to stay in that salary range. So, I'm pleasantly surprised, and I think they've done a fantastic job of getting a really good candidate in front of us. I think she'll serve us well.
Well, and this is Kevin. I think that credit goes to Wendy. She was really out on the hustings. When she was attending Tennessee Society meetings, she was making sure that we got word out, and we actually got some applicants as a result of her recruiting efforts in some of her meetings and presentations. And so Wendy definitely deserves the credit for going out on the hustings here.
Thank you, Kevin.
Are there further comments or questions then?
We're used to Wendy doing a great job on everything else. So what less would we expect?
Exactly. She kept Brad in line, and that's pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I'll just say something just so my voice will be heard, but I think everybody's answered the questions I've had. I think that, honestly, just kind of listening to these conversations that, you know, my understanding of being examiners, you're going to deal with all different types of scenarios and all different types of companies and clients and people. And, you know, while I don't like seeing a resume that's got multiple things on there, I think that with her background, I think she actually is going to bring a lot of experience from different areas because she has been a whole lot of places. I don't know if that's a valid point, but at least that's what kind of resonated with me when looking at it. I think it sounds like she's been properly vetted, and obviously this is a tough spot to find somebody for that's perfect for the position, because I don't know that there's really truly anybody out there that's just going to be a ready-made hire for this position. I think it's kind of something you develop as you go because you're dealing with so many things. But, you know, I have confidence in the people that made the interviews, and I think that looks like she would be a good candidate to give an opportunity to. So there's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Any further questions? I would entertain a motion then at this point to hire Sherry Waugh position.
So moved. This is Kevin Monroe.
Kevin, do I have a second?
I second. This is Gay.
Gay, thank you.
Could you all, in that motion, state the salary that you are recommending?
Okay, Kevin, would you amend your motion to cover that?
Yes, and correct me if I'm wrong, Wendy, but I think we're looking at a starting salary position of $80,000 plus state benefits and a state car.
Correct.
So would amend my motion to add those items.
Gay, would you?
I second that.
Amended motion. Very good.
Yes.
Okay, by roll call vote, I'd like to have.
Hey, could I ask one question? Sorry.
Yeah.
Is there like a probationary period for these hires, or what's the general policy for hiring somebody in these positions? I mean, is there like a 6-month trial? How does that work?
Well, this is an executive service position, so I'm not aware. Typically, the first year is considered probationary, but an executive service position serves at the pleasure of the board. So if there's something that occurs in the future and we no longer need this person or no longer want this person, it's basically a decision of the board to release the person from the position. So it's not preferred service, which is a little more difficult to remove from the position. But like I said, typically the first year is considered a probationary period.
Okay, thanks.
Good question. Any further questions or comments? I'd like to have a roll call vote, please.
John Royston.
Aye.
Stephen Eldridge.
Aye.
Janet Booker Davis.
Aye.
Larry Elmore.
Aye.
Kevin Monroe.
Aye.
Gay Moon.
Aye.
Pamela Church.
Aye.
Judy Weatherby.
Aye.
Motion carries by unanimous vote. Is there anything further to come before this? I don't think we can really cover anything, but is there any further questions or comments?
I have nothing else.
Okay, hearing none. Wendy, I assume you'll be contacting the candidate from this point, and we will consider
Yes,
this.
the decision of the board is dependent on approval of the Department of Human Resources, so I will get those memos going and contact Sherry to let her know that the board made the decision today.
Thank you very much, and we'll see the board here in a couple of weeks. Thank you all for your time today, and Kevin and Wendy especially for the extra hours that you've put in on this particular position. So, meeting is adjourned, and we're gone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Don.
Wendy.
Thank
Kevin.
you. See y'all later.